Since its inception in 2001, Overdose Awareness Day, as Karen said, has become a global campaign. For over 20 years, communities around the world have held events to raise awareness and commemorate those who have been lost to drug overdose. It's powerful to see so many people here today, even as the COVID pandemic continues. The opioid epidemic has not paused for COVID-19. In fact, quite the opposite. We come together tonight to remember the people we have lost and to support those who have lost loved ones. We are here to send a strong message to those in recovery that they are valued. We are here to fight stigma and judgment surrounding overdose and substance use disorder. We are here to educate about overdose risk, overdose prevention, and the services that are available to support recovery. The mission of the Rockland Council on Alcoholism and Other Drug Dependence continues to be aligned with the goal of this international event. Since RCAD was formed, it has sought to fight stigma, and alongside Friends of Recovery Rockland, it continues to do so today.
Science-based treatment needs to begin immediately for people suffering from substance use disorder and overdoses, because there is a race against time with fentanyl flooding our communities, our states, and our country. When a family member has substance use disorder, it affects other family members. It impacts our jobs, burdens on finances, makes maintaining friendships and social activities more difficult, and compromises self-care. Families live in despair, often trying to hide because of the stigma. Ray's courage, strength, and commitment to recovery and fighting the stigma associated with his disease was an awesome display of bravery, endurance, and perseverance. He courageously fought an amazing battle during his 7 years of suffering from this dreaded disease. He was treated at over 30 facilities, seeking help in inpatient, outpatient, sober living facilities, detox units, psychiatrists, internists, counselors, and even tried electroconvulsive shock treatment. Ray was also suffering from complex grief due to the constant death of friends from substance use disorder. This phenomenon also impacts friends of those who have died. It is not normal to be a teenager, and in your early 20s have had so many friends die. He tried abstinence as well as medically assisted treatment, including methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, and Subutex. When he did AA and NA, regretfully, he was ostracized by some members who were against medically assisted recovery, so he had to battle this additional stigma. Ray fought his own war on many fronts. Eventually, the war within and the wars from outside were too overwhelming. For me, the disease of addiction is the worst of all diseases because it consumes the body, mind, and soul. And in Ray's case, when it is coupled with a mental health disorder, it is, in the words of the recovery community, a cunning, powerful, and baffling disease. Many times I had wished that Ray's disease had been one that affected only the body, where the person is surrounded by love and care and support in the midst of the battle. However, substance use carries with it the unbearable pain of loneliness, misunderstanding, separation, and at times anger from those who could not understand addiction and mental illness. I cannot number the times that Ray would do the courageous work of recovery only to relapse and experience the tears of self-loathing. I've learned that recovery is not about a person becoming good, but it is about a sick person becoming well.
Bright, generous, giving, loving, loud, larger than life, beautiful soul, bright smile, and gorgeous. These are all words that describe our children. But in our space, the space of the bereaved parent, these words are used to describe our lost loves, our losses, our failures, and our despairs. And here I am, 4 years after living in loss of my oldest son, Zane, on September 4th, 2017. 7 a.m. on my partner's birthday. It's quiet. We're having a quiet moment. My mom knocks on the door and says, Zane's not in his bed, and I can't open the bathroom door. No words are adequate, appropriate, or accurate to describe what happened on that day, so I end the story at this point. Going forward, when well-meaning friends and family ask the question that we've all heard, how are you doing? My son and nephew could not bear to share the despair that no one really wants to hear, so they started answering the question, I am keeping it moving, because that's what our family does. And so Keep It Moving was created to keep Zane's energy going in everyday lives. We did our first cervix project, the stocking project that brings the love of the holiday stocking to children in need. The following February, Keep It Moving was officially started with the mission of supporting young people to be engaged in those edgy, life-affirming activities that all of our kids love to avoid the misuse of drugs and opioids. Narcan training is our secondary mission that's become most of what we do are known for. Doing Narcan training where and when it's needed, street corners, coffee shops, or formal presentations to psychiatric residents. For families and parents that live part of their lives in the dark, I offer my deepest condolences and ask for you to see the light that peeks through. The light that exists tonight at this beautiful event to support recovery and to highlight the joys of life. I ask that each one of you keep it moving. Keep it moving for Zane, Susie, Vinny, Matthew, Reed, Brock, Ethan, Barrett, Christopher, Jenny, and most of all for yourself and for everybody that you love. It's our only choice. Thank you.
Love your loved ones for who they are and not according to your expectations. I'll say that again. Love your loved ones for who they are and not according to your expectations. I don't have all the answers. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I even have the right questions. Most of my questions still begin with why. But this much I know. We're still here, and there has to be some sense in what we do, some purpose that God has planned for us as we go forward. The sun will come up tomorrow and we'll face a new day. We're not just doing time. This is not a commencement address. We haven't graduated from anything. But my wish for you is that you can find some hope for the future in your life, and purpose and promise. I'd like to thank you for your time and listening to me. God bless.
Well, good evening. As has been said, it's nice to be here, but obviously for so many of us, it's a struggle. And my heart goes out to all of you who have lost loved ones due to an overdose. As was mentioned, my dad at one point was president of RCAD, and he was a recovering alcoholic for 20 years when he passed. And it's something that had a tremendous impact on my life. And I can tell you that had my dad not found recovery, I would not be standing here in front of you. And that's how important it was for our family and the impact that that had. And so when we talk about these issues, prevention, and treatment, and recovery, it matters. And it matters a lot with what we do at a state level and in government to assist you and your families through this. And one of the things that I want to mention, earlier this year, New York State legalized marijuana. and the recreational use of it. And I opposed it for two very specific reasons. One of which was the potency of marijuana, which is significantly higher today than it was 20, 30 years ago. And the fact that there was no cap on the potency of marijuana. But more importantly was the impact that marijuana may have on substance use disorder among our children. And that's something that I think as we as a society really need to make sure that when we're making these policies, we're looking at the impact that it has on our children. And so many of you have had to experience that. And it's something that's heartbreaking, and it's something that we can do more to help with. From a preventive standpoint, from a treatment standpoint, and ultimately helping those with recovery. Earlier this year, we held the Shed the Meds event here in Orangetown and in Ramapo in my district. We are going to continue to do those to help get opioids out of your homes and out of the medicine cabinets and out of the hands of our children. And so I'm more than happy to work with Friends of Recovery Rockland and OAD and any other organization to assist with events like Shed the Meds or Narcan training. And I'm proud to announce tonight I got certified to administer Narcan. I want to thank our friends in the back. They did a great job. But that's something that many, many more people need to get trained in. We need to make sure that Narcan is readily available in homes and in businesses and in our schools, obviously, to avoid the potential of an overdose.
Much, Karen, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you for this wonderful event. I know tonight is important and poignant in so many different ways for those that are in recovery and in memory of those who are unable to get through recovery. And as we try to reduce the stigma and raise awareness, I think it's important that collectively we remember that each and every day that talking about it, talking about the struggles, making sure that people are aware that folks suffer from this illness like they suffer from any illness, and that we need to take the resources of our community, of each other, and certainly of our government, and attempt to do everything possible to help families and to help folks that struggle with addiction. You know, it's not lost that as we're in the middle of a pandemic, the amount of resources that we have put to bear on the COVID pandemic. Yet we've had this raging pandemic for years and years and decades, that we have made progress, but we need to make more progress, and we need to put the same amount of resources. So it's my pleasure to be a partner in that effort. I pledge my continued help in any way possible that I can do so in my position in the New York State Assembly with my colleagues like Assemblymember Lawler, who you just heard from. And you know, there's not a corner of this county or a corner of this state that's not touched by addiction, and really not a family that's not touched by addiction in some ways. And in my extended family, not too long ago, a member of my extended family through marriage lost a relative, and it's been a difficult time for them. And you know, one of the things that I thought was important is that even in the obituary and in talking about it, they talked about the struggles and about the strength. And that helps, I think, everybody come to the realization that it's not something to hide from. It's something to face together, hands locked, in situations like this where we can all hold a candle up for everybody, those that are here today and those that are no longer with us. So thanks everybody, because everybody here today is in that battle. And thanks for all of you for all your efforts. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Ewell. I'm the Director of Operations for Senator Elijah Reichlin-Melnick. The Senator regrets that he's not able to attend this evening, but I'm here to convey his appreciation for the importance of this day and the efforts of Friends of Recovery Rockland, Rockland Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, and Foundation Recovery Community Center to support the family and friends who have lost someone in an overdose and to reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths. I can't tell you how moved I am by all of the testimonies and the wonderful music. Every family at some point, unfortunately, might be affected by this. My family was one of those. I had 2 young cousins. I want to say their names out loud because that's really, really important to keep their memory alive. My cousins, identical twins, Joseph and James Emanuelo, unfortunately became addicted to drugs in their early 20s. They went to recovery. They had the wonderful support of family and friends. They ended up going into the armed forces, and unfortunately, both of them fell out of their recovery and overdosed at their barracks. We lost both of them at the age of 22. I understand how important this awareness is for everyone because of the healing process that every family goes through, and to keep their memory alive is something that I think that I share with many of you here. I just want to say that as a result of the Senator's concern on this important topic, which has affected the lives of so many New Yorkers and Rockland County residents, the Senator was the prime sponsor of the Senate resolution this year in honor of Overdose Awareness Day. The resolution was adopted by the full Senate in April in anticipation of today's event. I just want to read one small passage from the resolution because I really think that it captures the moment for us. International Overdose Awareness Day aims to raise awareness of overuse, to reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths, and is an opportunity to stimulate discussion about evidence-based overdose prevention and drug policy. An International Overdose Awareness Day also acknowledges the grief that by families and friends whose loved ones have died or suffered permanent injury from drug overdose, and spreads the message about the tragedy of drug overdose death and drug overdose prevention. I want to thank you for the opportunity today to present this resolution from Senator Reichlin-Melnick in recognition of Overdose Awareness Day. Thank you very much.
It's an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce our legislator of Rockland County, District 17, James Foley. We were very happy that he was with us on the day that we marched on the Rockland County Courthouse to fight for the opioid funds that are out there floating around and hopefully will not get into the wrong hands. So he's been very supportive. We're happy to have him support us today. Thank you very much, James.
Thanks. I just want to share some of my feelings because obviously meeting so many relatives of the victims really of this epidemic gave me a lot of feelings. And what I'll say is that in the 90s, the very early 90s, I decided that I needed to do something in my life, so I went to school to be a therapist so that I could work in a drug rehab. And I worked for 23 years for the county for different programs. Most of them are gone now, but dealt with, eating rehab, day rehab, detox, all kinds of stuff. DWI, I was an evaluator for motor vehicles. And I'm saying all that so I could say that actually on this issue, you guys are the experts. I come here and I listen to your stories and I listen to what you say, and I'm really impressed that, you're trying to make the world a better place, basically. It's not my job to tell anyone else what their job is, but it does make me happy that somebody is working so hard at trying to shut this down. Obviously, we have a pandemic on top of an epidemic. I don't really know what else to say other than I'm really impressed with the folks I met tonight and their stories and how they're carrying on and what they're trying to do with their situations. Obviously, I live in Rockland County, and I've had some. I don't have any relatives that were taken by this epidemic, but I definitely had a classmate who got away with drug use for many decades till fentanyl came along, and somebody I know had a teacher's pet who obviously became part of this story. But I'll make it really short and just say thank you for doing your work, and I've been in the field for 23 years, and I'm impressed by your efforts. Thanks.
I found this beautiful poem that I thought was appropriate. So before we say our loved ones' names, I'm going to read it. It's called I Heard Your Voice in the Wind. The author is unknown. I heard your voice in the wind today, and I turned to see your face. The warmth of the wind caressed me as I silently stood in place. I felt your touch in the sun today. As its warmth filled the sky, I closed my eyes for your embrace, and my spirit soared high. I saw your eyes in the window pane as I watched the falling rain. It seemed as each raindrop fell, it quietly said your name. I held you close in my heart today. It made me feel complete. You may have died, but you are not gone. You will always be a part of me. As long as the sun shines, the wind blows, the rain falls, you will live on inside me.